From a classic Australian party food to a new take on nachos, I've got even more new lunch ideas to share with you this week. I'm Jennifer and welcome back to Subscriber Lunch Sunday. In these videos, subscribers of all ages and from all over the world send me their lunch ideas because I love trying new lunch ideas and I love to inspire others to create fun lunches too. Now give this video a big thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button, and there's a link in the description box below if you'd like to submit your lunch idea. Now let's get started. Okay guys, I'm kicking things off with Lex's lunch. Lex is 23 years old and is from the United Kingdom. I'm gonna be using the Bento Box and I'm gonna go ahead and remove this little divider piece so I can have plenty of space for the main course, which is going to be that Australian classic I was telling you about. For this, I'm gonna start with 2 pieces of good old classic white bread. For this particular snack, I wanted to make sure I had a nice soft white bread, and I chose a loaf that was nice and square because I'm going to be cutting this into triangles later. The next thing I need for this snack is butter. I just grabbed my brick of Kerrygold butter from the fridge. Now you don't have to use butter for this. I know a lot of people just use margarine, so that's totally fine too if that's what you have. So now I'm gonna take a good amount of this butter and I'm going to spread it all over my bread. Now I did make sure to take the butter out of the fridge a little while ago so it'd be nice and soft. I wanted to make sure I could spread it on my bread without tearing it. And I really want to get a good layer of butter on here, and I'm going all the way to the edges because this butter is going to act like a glue for the very special topping that's coming next. So now that I have butter on both pieces of bread, it's time for the sprinkles. Now, if you're from the US, there's a good possibility that you've never seen or heard of fairy bread. Now, I actually heard about this Australian treat, I think last year, and I do have a separate video on exactly what it is. I'll go ahead and link to that video if you want to check it out. But basically, according to my internet research, fairy bread dates all the way back to the 1920s, and this is a very popular treat amongst kids at parties. So now I'm taking these rainbow sprinkles, which are known as hundreds and thousands, I believe, in Australia, that's what they call them. But I'm just taking these sprinkles and I'm gonna try to completely cover the bread. This is already looking so fun, but you have to be careful, you guys. I totally just got sprinkles like everywhere in my kitchen. They're kind of messy. Now to finish off this fairy bread, my very last step is to cut it into triangles. That is a very classic way of serving this. You can make large triangles or even smaller ones, totally up to you. So now that Lex's fairy bread is done, it's time to move on to some fruit, which brings me to this guy. Do you guys know what it is? Now I know this has made an appearance quite a lot recently in lunch videos. That's right, it's dragon fruit. I think it looks so interesting on the outside, almost like a dragon egg. Dragon fruit is becoming one of the most highly requested fruits in my videos. And you can probably see why. It just looks so different. That bright red outside and the striking white and black inside, it almost looks like it's from another world. Now I've actually cut up dragon fruit in lots of different ways, but I thought to change it up today, I would try to use my melon baller. As you can see, I have several different sizes here, but I think the smallest one would probably be best. This worked really well. You just stick the little melon baller in there, twist it around, and you're left with something that looks really fun and very interesting. I think these almost look like little tiny eggs. Yeah, definitely not your average fruit here. To go along with these, I'm also going to be adding in some diced mango. Of course, you guys have seen me cut mango like 1,000 times, so I went ahead and prepared this off camera. Now moving on to Lex's veggies, I'm going to be taking some sugar snap peas, and these ones are pretty thick on the edges, so I'm going to go ahead and just trim that off. I know my kids really like when I do that. The ends can be kind of fibrous and not so tasty. So now that I have a lot of these components ready, I'll go ahead and get them into the lunchbox. In this front section, I'm adding that combination of mango and dragon fruit. And I'm gonna add in just one little rainbow unicorn skewer as well. Then in this back section, I have all of those sugar snap peas. Those just fit perfectly in there. And now for the star of the show, the fairy bread. I did go ahead and cut these into smaller triangles just so they would fit better in a lunchbox. So far, this is looking awesome. Now, since the main course is kind of a treat, instead of adding another treat at this point, Lex requested some kettle chips. And since Lex is from the UK, I thought I would go with the sea salt and vinegar flavor. I'm told those are very popular in the UK. I'm just gonna put about a handful of these chips in this little Sistema container. I really like that this container has two separate sections, and that's especially great because Lex also requested some pickles. So I'm just adding a few of these little dill pickles right in here. They just fit perfectly. And then to complete Lex's lunch, I'm gonna be adding in some orange juice. Next up, I'm going to be making Harriet's lunch. She's 16 years old and is from Idaho. Now, when Harriet sent in her lunch idea, she let me know that her favorite color is purple. So I've gathered a lot of my purple lunch accessories for this. I love when you guys share with me not only your lunch idea, but also the colors and the themes and the characters that you like. That way I can incorporate them into your lunch. So for Harriet's lunch, my first step is going to be to make the main course. Now, you guys, when it comes to subscriber lunches, I usually end up making them on the weekends, and a lot of times they end up being what the kids eat for dinner. I know I get that question a lot. Since I'm already making school lunches during the week, that's usually how I do it. So for Harriet's main course, I'm going to actually make a little bit extra. That way all of the kids can share it for dinner tonight. Now, like I said, there's going to be a new twist to these nachos. Harriet requested for them to be Italian style. She recently discovered these at a restaurant near her home, and they've become her favorite. Now, you really could add so many different ingredients to make these Italian style, but for today I've added some mozzarella cheese, some turkey pepperoni, a few slices of banana peppers, not too many because I'm not sure if my kids will actually like these or not. And then, instead of using salsa on these nachos, I'm going to swap it out and use a little bit of marinara sauce instead. I'm going to sprinkle these nachos with a little bit of Italian seasoning, and then I'm going to pop them into the oven. This really is going to take just a few minutes. I want the cheese to be nice and melted for these delicious nachos. Now, while those are in the oven, I'm going to move on to Harriet's fruit. Now, I know she loves fruit, so for her lunch today, she requested a combination of oranges, strawberries, and grapes. For the oranges, I'm going to go ahead and peel those. For the strawberries, I'll cut the tops off and then slice them in half. And then, of course, the grapes are already good to go. So now is the time that I normally move on to the vegetable. But like a lot of kids and a lot of adults for that matter, Harriet's not a huge fan of veggies. But she does like bell peppers. So I'm going to take a yellow bell pepper, a red bell pepper, and an orange bell pepper, and I'm going to slice them into strips. So now these Italian nachos are out of the oven and they smell so good, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and break some up just a bit and add them into the lunchbox. Now, if I wanted to actually send these nachos to school, I'd probably just pack these ingredients separately. And then if your school or workplace has a microwave, you just go ahead and build them, pop them into the microwave, and you'll have some delicious Italian nachos for lunch. Now, moving on to Harriet's snack and her treat. In the separate container, I went ahead and added a scoop full of extra cheddar goldfish. Those are the ones with the extra cheese powder on the outside. And then in the separate container, which is pretty small, I'm going to add a handful of sour gummies. Now, I know a lot of you can probably tell exactly what type of gummy this is just by looking at them. I'm just going to add a handful of these right in here. And finally, the last thing I'm going to be adding into Harriet's lunch is her soda. She requested an Italian soda, which was surprisingly hard to find in my area. But I did manage to find this can. It is tangerine and wild strawberry flavored, which sounds so good. And there you have it. There's everything in Harriet's lunch. This next lunch idea was sent in by Martha. She is 25 years old and is from California. Now, for her lunch today, she requested a Disney theme, and I have actually a lot of Disney themes to choose from, but I decided to go with the classic Mickey Mouse. He's definitely my favorite. And for this lunch, I'm also going to be testing out a different kind of lunchbox. This one has a white inside. I actually don't remember what brand it is, but I know I got it on Amazon, and I'll link it down below if you want to check it out. Now you don't have to do this, but I do like to decorate my lunches with a few silicone liners. These just fit perfectly in these little sections, and it's an easy way to add color and personality to your lunchbox. So for Martha's lunch, I'm going to start by gathering all of my ingredients, some mini hot dogs, cheddar cheese, and finally, some crescent dough. Now, if you've guessed that I'm making mini pigs in a blanket, you would be correct. But of course, these pigs in a blanket are the American version. That's where we wrap dough on the outside of the hot dogs instead of bacon. So to make these, I'm gonna take my triangles of dough and I'm actually gonna cut them in half. That way they're gonna fit a lot better with the mini hot dogs. Next, I'm going to take a baking pan. I've already sprayed this generously with nonstick spray, and then starting at the larger end of my strip of dough, I've added my cheese and my hot dog, and then I'm just wrapping the whole thing up. This is actually pretty easy to do. Even your kids could help you make these. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could leave the cheese out, but I think the cheese is going to be so good in these. So now that I have all of our little hot dogs rolled up, I'm going to pop them into the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on these so they don't get too dark. So now that I have those in the oven, I'm going to move on to some cucumber. Now, there are so many ways that you can dress up just a plain cucumber, but here's a really simple way that you don't need any special tools. All you have to do is take a fork and you're going to press firmly along the outside of the cucumber, and you're going to do this all the way around on all the sides, just like this. Next, all you have to do is slice the cucumber like you normally would, but instead of just having a regular slice, you're left with something that looks a little bit scalloped on the edges. Super quick and easy, and like I said, you don't need any special tools to make this. For Martha's fruit today, I'm going to be adding a combination of cantaloupe and grapes. And for the cantaloupe, I decided to use my flour cookie cutter to punch out some fun shapes. So now our mini crescent cheese dogs are out of the oven, and they are looking so cute. These would be perfect for a party. I know my kids will just gobble these up. I'm going to add a few right into this lunchbox, just like that. In this next section, I'm going to add the cucumber slices, followed by the cantaloupe and grapes. And in this last section, I'm going to add Martha's snack. She requested pretzels, so I'm just going to add about a handful right in here. Next up, a very special treat. For Martha's lunch today, she requested chocolate chip cookies, so I have these two that look so good. I'll add those right into here. And then to complete this lunch, Martha requested chocolate milk for her drink. Oh, wait a minute, I did forget one thing. There's supposed to be some ranch with those cucumbers, so I'm just going to fit that right in there. Now that brings me to Alexandra's lunch. She is 14 years old and is from Washington. Now I know that Alexandra's favorite color is blue, so I pulled a lot of my blue lunch accessories to use. And for her main course today, she requested something that's actually one of my kids' favorites and I make quite often. In fact, Alexandra says that she makes them quite often as well, and she even makes some for her sister Claire and her to share. That is so nice. So to this extra large tortilla, I'm just adding a little bit of pizza sauce, not too much. I know it's tempting to add lots of sauce, but if you do, it most likely will just leak out all over the place and get really messy. Next, I'm going to sprinkle on a good amount of mozzarella cheese. Normally when I'm making a quesadilla, I might put 1 or 2 different kinds of cheeses, but for this one, just mozzarella. And that's because, if you haven't already guessed, this is a pizza style quesadilla. Now at this point, you really could add any pizza toppings that you would like. You could do mushrooms or onions or peppers or sausage. I think all of this would be really good. But when I make these for my kids, they only want pepperoni. So I'm going to add about 10 or so slices of our favorite turkey pepperoni. I like to use turkey pepperoni because it's not as greasy as the regular kind. Now that our cheese is pretty much melted, I can go ahead and fold this quesadilla over, and I'm going to continue to cook it on both sides until it's nice and golden brown. We love our quesadillas to be nice and crispy on the outside. Now I've let this cool down just a bit before I cut into it. That way the ingredients don't just ooze out everywhere. Doesn't that look so good? If you're a huge fan of pizza and cheesy things, you would definitely like this. Now moving on to the fruit and veggies. For Alexandra's lunch, she requested apple slices. And for her vegetables, she requested something that goes so well with pizza, and of course that would be salad. So in this separate container, I'm just building a little side salad here. In the separate container, I have some ranch as well. Pretty sure most people like ranch. And then in this back section, I have just enough space for a snack and a treat. For her snack today, Alexandra requested goldfish crackers, so I'm just gonna scoop a few into here, try to keep them on their side of the lunchbox. And then for her treat, something really special. These are chocolate-covered almonds. These are Alexandra's favorite treat, so I'm just gonna add a scoopful right into here. Oh yes, and these are actually dark chocolate-covered almonds. That's probably why they're so dark. They almost look black. Now I almost forgot, I did want to go ahead and dress up the salad just a bit. I'm gonna add some pieces of carrot and a few slices of cucumbers as well. Just a few simple additions to make the salad a little bit better. And then last but not least, I'm gonna be adding Alexandra's favorite drink. In her opinion, it's the best drink in the world, and of course that would be water. I recently picked up these reusable bottles at Walmart, and I just love the way they look. And I love that they're reusable too. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me for another week of fun lunches. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. See you next time. Bye guys.